This is Floral Kraft, the newest, most exciting idea in home decorating for the 90s. Now here's your hostess and the creator of Floral Kraft, Sandra Lee.
Hi, I'm Sandra Lee, and thank you for choosing Floral Kraft. You know, nothing makes your home more beautiful than fresh flowers, and that's why I invented the Floral Kraft line. Floral Kraft is a way to decorate your entire house with floral creations that you make yourself. This is our picket fence that you see here, and all of these flowers you see on this picket fence are actually dried with the Floral Kraft drying crystals. And they look fresh, don't they? We also have a foliage garland that you see up here. This is a beautiful piece you can hang on any curtains or draperies and just add a nice accent to your home, create a lot of color and charm. Down here you see our window box. And this is also very simple to make. This is only going to take you about a half an hour to do. And there's different variations of this window box too, which we'll share with you. Now this is our faux window that you see behind me here. And then down here is actually a window box and a faux window put together. So we're going to learn how to make all these beautiful designs today. You may remember my first line, Curtain Craft, which was a line of do-it-yourself home decorating products where you take regular fabric or bed sheets and create beautiful valances, canopy beds, or cornice boxes. This is just as easy, I promise. So go grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's get going. Now, the first thing you should get out of your kit is your Floral Kraft drying crystals. Now these are what make those beautiful dried flowers that look almost freeze-dried. There's 3 different processes, so I want to be really clear on this with you and how to use it. The other pieces in the Floral Kraft line are the window frame, which is what you see here. This is your faux window. And you'll notice that all of your wood frames have been painted white. Now you can paint these any color that you want to match the motif in your house, but we've painted them white for you. We also have the picket fence that you see in front of that. We have our window box. Now the window box can also be attached to the picket fence or the window frame to create a total new look. So that's very nice and versatile for you. Or of course use it alone in a window sill as just a window box. We have our foliage garland. And this is all pre-wired and made for you. And what's nice about this is you can hang this up alone. You don't have to decorate this very much with flowers. It's a beautiful accent on any curtains or draperies. The other things that you would have gotten in your kit are your instructional video, and that's what you're watching here. And your instructional book. And this book has dozens of different ideas and things to make in your house, like topiaries or fruit and vegetable valances for your kitchen. Just all sorts of nice things in here. Now, the first thing I want to show you is that in your instructions, you get a pick a flower guide that will tell you all the different flowers that are best to use. It will also give you a good idea of color combinations and how different colors and textures work together. So if you don't know any of that stuff, that's fine. We've done all that for you. So that's your flower guard. Now I want to show you one of the patterns so you get an idea. Every single one of the wood frames that you have in your kit should have a numbered pattern guide in it. And it's a life-size pattern, so you just lay it down next to whatever you're working on and just follow the numbers. Now on the left side of each one of your instructions, you're going to see different diagram groups. The first diagram you see is placing your group number 1. Now group number 1 that you also have down here is all of your foliage. So you want to put your foliage on first. Then we're going to put on group number 2 and 3, which are your larger flowers. Then group number 4, which are your filler flowers, your smaller things. And I'll show you a sample of each one of those flowers in just a second. When you go to the big diagram here, you can see that we've laid out everything for you by numbers. So if you look at number 4, and then you come back to your flower chart, anything you see in group number 4 here, you can use in that space. So all you do is take your flowers once you've got those dried, and again I'll show you how to do that in just a second, and you lay them out as you see them here, and you glue them on. So it's floral decorating by numbers, kind of like the old painting by numbers. Very simple to do. So each one of your products should have a pattern for you to use. So it really is as easy to do as I promised. Now there's a couple things that you're going to want to put together before you start working with the Floral Kraft products. You want to grab yourself a nice sharp pair of scissors. You're going to want to go down to a craft store and you're going to want to buy floral tape and some floral wire, which is what we have here. Now I want to go over some of the basic techniques of working with Floral Kraft, and I'm going to start doing that with the drying crystals. Now I want to go over with you how to use your floral drying crystals. There are 3 different ways to use them. You can use your microwave oven, you can use a conventional oven, or the natural method, which is my favorite. Each of them is talked about here in your instructions. So when you're using your floral crystals, either refer to the back of the jar or to your instructions for use on each one of those methods. I prefer the natural drying methods when using the crystals. I find that I get a nicer flower, that it maintains the color longer, and it's much easier to work with. Now inside your container are your drying crystals. You have your white crystals and your blue crystals. Now the blue crystals are there to help tell you when your flowers have finished drying. They'll actually turn pink when the crystals have absorbed all the moisture from the flower, and then turn back to blue again once the crystals are ready for reuse. And this is probably, I think, the best thing you have in your kit here, because these can be used over and over and over and over again for years. So you want to make sure you take care of these. When you're working with your microwave or your natural method, you want to use a plastic container with a lid on it like this. If you're using a conventional oven, then you want to use a metal pan or a glass pan. Now I've already put the crystals in here for you, and you can see the different color of the crystals here. Now what we want to do, I'm just going to kind of scoop this up. When you're working with your flowers, take and cut your flowers. Take all your leaves off here and actually cut them about right there. Leave about 1 inch or 2 on there, okay? And what you're going to want to do is stick this straight down into your crystals, just like that. Okay? I've got a couple more here. Just like this. And you can actually do a dozen flowers at a time with 5 pounds of crystals. Then once you get your flowers in here and positioned well, what you want to do is just go over them with the crystals like this and cover them completely up. And make sure that you put the crystals actually into the flower. Scoop them up and into the flower. Never take your crystals and just pour them on top of the flower, because what you're going to find is that actually flattens your flower down. And once they're in here and they're completely covered up, then you take the lid, put it on like this, and either put it in your microwave or just set it off to the side for the natural method for several days. When you're taking your flowers out, be very careful with them, because these crystals can be quite heavy. And you want to shake them off. Maybe even use a little paintbrush to get the crystals off of your flowers. But look at this. Isn't that pretty? So that's how you use your floral drying crystals. And once you have all your flowers dried, then you're ready to decide on which piece that you want to make. If you're working with the faux window or the garland valance, you want to leave the stems off. But if you're working with the picket fence or the window box, you're going to need the stem to get the flower, up the picket fence or out of the box. So let's go over how to do that. The first thing you want to do is take the stem that you have here and just cut the stem completely off, just like this, and open it up. Now we're going to take our glue gun and just glue right in here. Be nice and generous with that glue, like you see here. And take your floral wire and just push it right into the flower like this. Now once you've pushed this in here, the glue will actually harden around that wire and cause it to stay put. So you'll have a nice secure flower. The next thing you do is take your flower tape, your floral tape that we have here. Take a nice piece off. And you want that much glue because you want the tape to catch on to the flower. So we're going to take this and we're going to just wrap it around like so. Pull it nice and tight and just twist it like this. Just like that, all the way down. So you can see that the flower tape is actually coming all the way up into the flower, so you don't see any wire at all. And then once you have your flowers wired, you just want to take them and you want to turn them towards you just a little bit like that. That way when you're putting it on the picket fence, and I'm going to take this and just put it on here so you can see that it's facing towards you and not straight up, so that you get a nice face, the nice face of your flower like this. Now the next thing we're going to make is our picket fence. This is my favorite design. Very easy to do. Now when you're working with this, as I said before, you could paint it if you want to, but I like to leave this white because it adds a really nice charm, just like a picket fence that you would see outside. Now again, you want to find your pattern guide in your Floral Craft kit, and we go by diagrams again. The first diagram puts on the foliage, and that is exactly what we've done here that I can show you. Now I want to go over something with you real quick. The moss goes on first in sections, and you just glue it on. Don't even worry about it being perfect. It's not supposed to be. These edges are supposed to hang down like that. You want it to look real natural. When you're building and coming up here, you're using your fern, a stem of fern, and you're also using a stem of lemon leaves. And you want anywhere from, 4 to 6 leaves on each lemon vine. And you just go down your fence and you glue these stems on to each picket. That's all you do. And they don't all have to be the same size. This just happens to go straight across here, but it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, I like it when they're a little bit off center, not the same size. Now in diagram number 2, this is again where we're adding our number 2 and our number 3 flowers, which are normally your roses or your daffodils or your tulips, carnations, your larger bulbed flowers, and those needed to be stemmed, and that's why I showed you how to stem them earlier in this instructional video. And this is what you see over here. Now we're just placing our stemmed flowers on here and gluing them. As you can see, they're glued right to the leaves, or you can glue them to the base of the fence if you're touching. You want to glue wherever the flower is touching a stem or the fence. And you go down and you do it like so. Again, creating different looks off each picket. You don't want them all to be the same. You want some variation in there. And you'll see that if you refer to your larger numbered pattern over here. The next thing you want to do is your group number 4 flowers, which is more of your filler flowers. Now, these, as you can see in your diagram 3 here, go on the same way that they did with the faux window. And I have a fence already done here that can show you, I can show you your filler flowers. And they're stemmed flowers, some of them down here, little bunches. You want to put your smaller bunched flowers down here and your longer stem flowers, like your larkspur that you see here, up in this area. One thing I want to point out though is when I first started doing this, I really wanted everything to be perfect and in its place. And everything to be straight, but when flowers grow, they're not always so straight. So when you're looking at this picket, you'll see that things aren't always exactly straight. They grow out like this, and that's just fine. This is not supposed to be perfect again. It's supposed to look natural, and that's what this does. Now I want to show you a little clip here of how to actually decorate the picket fence up. The first thing you see me putting on here is the group number 1, and that is my foliage. I'm putting the moss down as well as the lemon leaves and the fern together. And you can use a glue gun, or you can also use a thick tacky glue if you don't have a glue gun. The next thing you want to put on here is your group number 2 flowers, which are your larger flowers, your roses, your daffodils, tulips, any bulb flowers, gardenias, anything you want here, your larger flowers. And remember, you can also not only dry your flowers in the Floral Craft drying crystals, but you can use little accent roses to make smaller flowers and just hang them upside down to dry them if you want to create that accent. I've been putting in filler flowers, that's what you see here, and I use a lot of white to make it stand out and pop. So it's really, really pretty, very easy to do and put on your wall, and that's all you do. The window comes already pre-assembled, and it's also painted white. Now you also want to pull out your pattern guide that you have in your kit. The first thing you want to do is diagram 1, and this is where we're laying down all of our foliage. We're literally just gluing the foliage onto the window here. Now, what you'll notice is the first thing I've done in layers, and when you read your instructions you'll see this too, is I put down a very thin layer of moss. And then I do my fern, and my lemon leaves. And you want to aim the lemon leaves out like this. You're kind of creating, you know, a little round area in your corner here. And put this corner of this lemon leaf right up against that corner so you get a more rounded effect. You then want to go in and put in your ivy leaves like you have here. In the center here, I've put 3 ivy leaves just like so, because what we're going to create is a mounting place for your large flowers. So that's the first thing you want to do, and that's what you'll see in diagram number 1. Then if you go down your pattern to diagram number 2, this is where we're going to put our group number 2 and our group number 3 flowers, which is your large and your medium-sized flowers. This is diagram 2 right here, and you'll notice that I've created that base for this flower to go along. Kind of looks like a little bouquet here. Put your large flower in the center, right there in the center. Lift up one of the larger ivy leaves or lemon leaves if you put that there, and glue in a diagonal angle your medium-sized flowers, and that is your group number 3. So your group number 2 goes here in each one of the corners, and there's only one flower for that. And then your group number 3 goes diagonally right underneath it and right underneath that ivy to cover up your stem there. You glue those on just like so. I've even gone ahead and put 2 little rosebuds on each side of that. So just do whatever you like, whatever you know, pleases you. Now, this is diagram number 2. Diagram number 3 is where you want to put in more of your filler flowers, and that is your group number 4. So refer to your flower chart. Now, as you can see back on the wall, we have a finished faux window for you here, and you can see that the filler flowers that I've used are purples and yellows. I like to use both those colors with the pink because it really makes those roses stand out, gives it a lot of depth and definition. So that's what you want to use there, and that is just a lovely piece, don't you think? Now here's another example of how to decorate your window. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm putting down my foliage, my group number 1, and you see me doing lemon leaves with the ivy leaves on top of those and a little bit of fern around. Now here's your group number 2, your large flower, and that big flower goes right in the center there of each corner. Then your group number 3, which is your medium-sized flower, goes alongside of each one of these roses, one on each side that you see. I actually put even a smaller tiny rose, that's what you see me putting on here, a second rose down there just to give it even more of a nice soft touch. And I'm putting on my group number 4 here, my larkspur. You could even put on some berries from your group number 5 if you wanted to. It's very, very simple. You just decorate it any way you want. And it's real important here to finish off your center. Now I put an ivy leaf with some fern and one of the little roses, and that's all you do. It's beautiful. Now, when you're working with your window box, there's a couple things that you need to get that I didn't talk to you about before. You want to go get yourself some dried flower foam. Now, there is fresh flower foam, but you want to make sure you get the dried flower foam, and that's what this is here, okay? And all you're going to do is place this inside your window box like this. And that's all you do, very easy. Then you're going to take your moss, and what I like to do is cut my moss, lay a patch of moss on the top and just cut around it. And I've already done that here for you. Lay this down, and then we're going to secure the moss in here with some pins. Just like that, and make sure that you pin it. If you have 2 sections like I have here, you want to take a floral pin and fasten those 2 together. And what I normally like to do as well is actually glue the floral foam down into the box so it doesn't slide around. Okay, so make sure you do that. Now, if you refer to diagram number 1, again, we've put the foliage in here, and I want to explain this to you a little bit, okay, because it's different than what we've done before. Now, you're going to work from the center of your box out, and you're going to do the back first and then the front. Okay, the back you want to use right in the center a much larger stem of lemon leaves. Then you're going to put medium-sized, working yourself down like this, medium-sized stems in here, and then push diagonally like in a 90-degree angle like I have here, lemon leaves out to the side, the lemon stems. When you're working in the front, you want to use shorter stems so that you don't take away from your back, because you're trying to create some dimension and some depth here. And we're also putting the fern in as you see it. And normally I just like to run the fern right down the middle between the two, so you have a nice full lush look before you even start inserting your flowers. Now if we go back to our pattern guide again, the next step we do is diagram number 2, and that is going to be your group number 2 and 3 flowers, which are your larger flowers and your medium-sized flowers, and that's what we have right over here. Now you can see exactly where they go on this diagram, and that's exactly where they're placed in here. And remember, these have all been wired, so when you're putting them in there, all you're going to do, I want to take one out for you, is you're going to take your already pre-wired flower and you're going to stick it in right where it goes, and make sure that you turn that head forward. Okay, so you can see the flower and it's not sticking straight up, because you won't get the same effect. It won't look as full. So make sure you turn the head forward. Now, once you've got your larger flowers inserted here, what you do is you put in your filler flowers in it, and you can see, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. You just put them in wherever you want. You want to separate them. What I like to do is put the pinks, back here, pinks here, just like we have it, other filler flowers in there. And what I always forget, and you need to remember, so I'm reminding you, is you need to put some white flowers in here and some dark ones to create dimension and bring this thing to life, because if you didn't have these dark purples in here or these whites, it would look pretty bland with just the pinks and the yellows and some purples. So you need to kind of break that up and make it much more lush. Now, after you've got your window box done, this is something that's beautiful to set on a counter or put in an actual window. But you can also create some different looks with the window box, like I talked to you about before, and that is attaching your window frame, which is what I have behind me here, to the back of your window box. Now that frame is simply just nailed onto the back of that window box, and I've decorated the corners, the upper 2 corners of that window frame, to kind of coordinate with the window box so it's not so plain. Very, very pretty look, and again, that can be a nice wall hanging depending on what you want to do. You can also take your picket fence, and don't decorate your picket fence, just take it plain, and you can attach it to the back again with hammer and nail, just like this, and that's another really pretty nice look. These are great gift ideas, so as you're making them, you might want to make a couple extra for your friends. Very easy to do. A lot of people like to take and just go in their back garden and pick these little wildflowers like this and dry them. It's very inexpensive, and you can use things from your own home. The next thing I want to show you how to make is the foliage garland, and that is for window treatments. You can also make wreaths out of it. So let me grab that and let's get started. When you're working with your foliage garland, you can do many different creations, and they're absolutely gorgeous over any window treatment that you have. This is what you can create behind me here. And what's nice is the foliage garland is also very flexible, so if you want to create a swag or if you want a straight balance, you can do either one. Now when you get your foliage garland in the kit, it's going to come just like this. It's all pre-wired and pre-wrapped for you, and all you have to do is put on your flowers and your additional leaves that you want to use. Now I'm going to grab, again, we have another pattern for you here. Now the first diagram, of course, is putting your foliage on, and that is what we've done right here. All you're going to do is put your leaves on here and there, just to create a base for your flowers, because your flowers are going to attach right at the base of your leaf. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is put on your foliage, and it's nice to use some darker and some lighter shades to again create some depth to your garland. Now if you go to the next step on your pattern, you have your diagram number 2. This is where you want to use your large and medium-sized flowers. Now if you're looking at this, you can see that the roses are placed right next to the leaves here, and gives it a lot of nice dimension and color. It brings that flower out quite a bit. And I've put some of my group number 4s in here too, the purples and the whites. This is your larkspur. You see a lot of these in the catalogs, and they're very expensive. You should be able to make this for under $30. Well under, actually. Now here's a little bit of a fuller garland that you see. Again, it's not as full and lush as you have behind me, but you might want different treatments for different windows. This is also very nice all by itself. Another thing you can do with your foliage garland is create a fruit and vegetable garland for your kitchen, and then right below that garland we have a wreath. Now You can create a wreath with this if you want to, just by simply wrapping this around itself and tying it together like this. I do have another clip that I want to show you, which is how to make the garland valance that you see here. And what I'm doing is I'm putting on my group number 1, which is my foliage, and these are lemon leaves here, but you could also use ivy leaves if you want to. And then what you see is our group number 2, and that's your larger flowers. Now here we're using roses, but carnations are great, or again, daffodils or tulips or gardenias, just anything you want from your group number 2. We're just placing it so that the leaves actually look like they're part of the flower itself. And here I have my foliage going in, and that's my group number 4. I don't use a lot of group number 3 flowers, medium-sized flowers, just number 2 and number 4. And this is larkspur that you see I'm putting in here. We're putting in some purples and some whites. A little later on I'm going to add some yellows and some other flowers to really make it pop. And what you want to do is just fill this garland up and make it lush. If you don't want to make it as full and lush, depending on where you're going to place it in your home, just use less filler flowers. And what you might want to do too is put the valance up and then put your filler flowers in so that you can kind of monitor, what you're doing there. When you're decorating your rooms, you want to remember to create the same kind of color in your creation that you have in your room. For instance, if you have mauve carpet and cream drapes, those would be the main colors that you would want to use in your creation. Add some yellows and some purples and those kinds of things to add depth, but you definitely want to use the colors that are already in your room in the creation that you make. I certainly hope you've enjoyed Floral Craft. I enjoyed making it for you. And refer to your book. There's lots of good ideas. It's a great gift idea, very inexpensive. None of the things that I showed you today should cost you over $30 to $40. So have a good time and happy decorating.
Ask for additional product lines by Sandra Lee at Better Fabric and Kraft stores everywhere. Other products include Curtain Craft, a line of do-it-yourself home decorating ideas utilizing regular fabric or bed sheets to create window treatments, cornice boxes, bed canopies, welcome wreaths, table centerpieces, and dozens of other easy decorative touches. Also available is a library of mini books and special videos to take you step by step in redecorating every room of your home. Coming soon, watch for Sandra Lee's new Growing Gardens products and the Kids Corner collection.